Okay, guys, welcome back. Remember, short time till Christmas, so there's always that. Now, here's that stuff we were doing before break. Here's the point of it. Look at that equation. You have x to the second power minus 11x plus 28 equals 0. So because you have to solve the equation, find what value the x is. It's like a puzzle. Now your x is to the second power, so there's two answers. And you have x to the second, and you have 11, which is x to the first, okay? So with those two things, we have to break this into parts, okay? Now you remember the GCF, okay? But now we'll put a 1 in front of the x, and now I have 3 numbers instead of 2, okay? So my first question to you is the very first number a negative? No, it is not, so I would not make this negative. Do I have x on every one of these? You have x second, you have x1, but 28 has no x at all. So since 28 has no x at all, we're not going to put x in the GCF, x to the 1. We're not going to put that because 28 does not have an x at all. And then the big numbers are 3 of them, 1, 11, 28. So let's go 1, comma, 11, comma, 28. So I hit calculate. It says the GCF's 1, so I put 1. Let's say equals. Now, if the GCF is only 1 and nothing else, don't do it, okay? It's not going to do any good because when you divide a number by 1, nothing changes. Okay, like if I take a 5 divided by 1, that's 1. Because if I take 1 divided by 1, that's 1. Negative 11 divided by 1, negative 11 divided by 1, that's negative 11. And 28 divided by 1. It's not going to help me at all to divide by 1. So be patient here. What I do here is this is what I use the A, B, C for. And I connect it by multiplying. Now I have your chart set up for you. I take 1 positive times 28 positive. And that gives me 28, and 28 is positive. Okay? It's positive. So that means we're going to add to try to equal 11. And 11's negative. So I start my division process. 28 divided by 1 is 28. But 28 plus 1 is 29. And that's not what I have there. So imagine putting a 2 there. 28 by 2 is 14. You don't want to just write all the numbers if they're decimals because you don't have enough room. So 2, 14. Now I take 14 plus 2. I'm adding. That's a 16, not 11. Now imagine putting a 3 there. 28 divided by 3. It's not, okay, it's a decimal. So now I go on to 4. Imagine writing a 4 down. 28 divided by 4. Okay, 7. So I write 4 down, and then the answer I got 7. Now I add 7 plus 4, and that's 11. Boom, got it. Now we need to sign my numbers. 11's negative, so 7's negative. We have a positive up there, so the signs are the same. Now the second part of this is for my parentheses, okay? We have a 1, so 1, 1, x, x, and then minus 4, minus 7. Now, here's what you do. You put equals 0 because it's equal to 0. All I've done is taken this and just rewrote it with its 2 parentheses. So I go F1, F2. So F1 is 1x minus 4 equals 0. F2 is 1x minus 7 equals 0. So I'm going to dot my 1 and circle it. And then I'm going to plus 4 to both sides, and I get 1 times x equals 4. Now you can divide by 1, but it doesn't change it. 4 divided by 1 is 4. There's your first answer. 0 is not going to be one of the answers today. because both of these factors have a minus or a plus I need to undo. And then I plus 7, 1x equals 7. That's dotted. Then divide by the 1. 7 divided by 1 is 7. 4 and 7 are the two answers for the x variable. Okay, now for my next one. X to the second means it has two answers. And we have x second and x to the first. So we have these two x's with different powers. This is what this junk's used for. So I put a 1. GCF, do I have a negative in the front? No. I have three big numbers. Do they all have an x of any kind behind them? No, 35 doesn't, so we can't put x. Okay, and then 1, 2, and 35. Calculate, and again it's 1. Okay, so if it's just a plain old 1, we ignore that. Now I go further. I go A, B, C. Connect the A to the C. And I take positive 1 times negative 35, which is negative 35. 35 negative. So I got a negative now. So I'm not going to add, I'm going to minus. And I'm minusing to try to get 2, which is negative. So divided by 35 divided by 1 is 35. 35 minus 1 is 34. So I don't have 34. Now imagine me putting a 2 there and dividing 35 by 2. That's a decimal. Now imagine yourself putting a 3 there. 35 divided by 3 is a decimal. Now imagine you putting a 4 there. 35 divided by 4 is a decimal. Now imagine putting a 5 there. 35 divided by 5. Okay, so I said put a 5 down, and we got an answer of 7. 7 minus 5 is 2, so we have the two values we need. The 2 is negative, so that makes our 7 negative automatically, and we have a negative up here, so that will be the opposite sign, okay? So we have minus, so this will be plus. Now my A is a 1, so I just make the two parentheses with 1x and 1x. Now if A is not a 1, you're going to have to do something different. Well, we're a long time away from learning that though. So plus 5 and minus 7, and that equals 0. Okay, so I have F1 and F2. Okay, so either one of these, the F1, the F2, factor 1, factor 2. So 1x plus 5 could equal 0. That's what F1 and F2 really stand for. 1x minus 7, 0. So I multiply, dot them both, and then opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. If I have 0 and I take 5 away, it goes negative, negative 5. So 1 dot x equals negative 5. Then I divide by 1. But that's still going to be just negative 5. When you divide a number by 1, it's in the identity. It just keeps it the same. So minus 7, I plus 7, plus 7. 1 times x equals 7. And you can divide by 1, but it's 7 divided by 1 is 7. So negative 5 and 7 are the two answers. Okay. Next problem. Oops, sorry, I forgot the table here. I'm sorry. Make it. Okay. Okay, so we have a 1 there. So let's talk about the two answers, because you have x second and x to the 1. Okay. X second, x1. So GCF, we don't have it. The first number is not negative. X here, but no x here, so I can't do an x. And then 1, 6, and 40, the GCS 1. Now, yeah, whenever 1 is one of these numbers that you put in here, it's going to be 1, okay? So, and that happens every time 1 is one of the numbers you enter in here. Okay, so I'm not going to, this isn't worth my time. So I go to my next plan, plan B, okay? A, B, C, and put your times there. So I take positive 1 times negative 40. By the way, C is not your 0. Okay, I got 40 negative. So because I got a negative, I'm going to minus, and that minus is supposed to equal 6, which is positive. Okay, now I start dividing. So 1, 40 minus 1 is not, it's 39, okay. Then 2, oh, sorry, I should have divided first by 2, but I got 20, so it's okay if I put 2. 20 minus 2 is 18, not going to work. Okay, 3. Imagine putting a 3 there and dividing 40 by 3. That's a decimal. Now imagine putting a 4 there. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So I want to write the 4 down and put the answer I got. Okay, I'm running out of room. Fortunately for me, though, 10 minus 4 is 6. Okay, got it. Now, because the 6 is positive, 10's positive. And we were doing and we have a negative here, up here. So the signs are opposite. So if that's positive, opposite of positive is negative. So A is 1. I'm going to start putting that. A is 1. So if A is 1, that's good. Then I can just make 2 parentheses with 1, 1. Then x, so x, x, and then 4 and 10. So I have minus 4 and plus 10. So remember, this whole expression equals 0. All I've done with that expression is just make it into its 2 parentheses. So that's F1 and that's F2. So 1x minus 4 could equal 0, or 1x plus 10 could equal 0. So I dot and circle, dot and circle. So I plus 4, 0 plus 4 is 4. Remember, you're adding. If you have $0 and add 4 to your account, it's 4. Now undo the multiplication by dividing. 4 divided by 1 is 4. Opposite of plus 10 is minus 10. This is, by the way, again, 0 take away 10 takes you into the negatives. Okay, if you subtract from 0, you go negative. So negative 10. And then divide by your 1. But that still just keeps it at negative 10. Okay, because you're not really dividing it by anything other than 1 whole. Okay, my next problem. GCF, do you have a negative in front? No. Do you have X on everything? Well, not on 55, so we don't put an X. So 1, 16, and 55. Remember, if I enter 1 as one of the numbers, I know it's going to tell me it's 1. So that means that's a waste of time, because dividing a number by 1 does not change the number at all. Okay, and then I connect the A to the C through multiplication. And I take positive 1 times positive 55. I got positive 55. So because I got a positive, I'm going to add to try to get 16, which is positive. So 1 and 55. 55 plus 1 is 56. That's not what I have over there. Now imagine writing a 2 down. Okay, I don't want to write 2 down because I got a decimal. Now imagine writing 3 down. I would divide 55 by 3. I got a decimal. Now I'd write 4 down, imaginary. Okay, I got a decimal. Now imagine writing 5 down. Okay, I need to write 5 down because I got a whole number, 11. Now I take 11 plus 5. I got 16 exactly. Okay, now 16's plus, so we need 11 as a plus. and it's positive up here, so the signs have to be the same. So they will both be plus. Now, a is 1, so remember, the a number was 1. So we just need two parentheses, because 1 can only be 1 times 1. And then x, then 5 and 11. But both of them would be pluses here. And then equals 0. So now I do my f factor 1, factor 2 procedure, where I set each factor individually equal to 0. So 1x plus 5 could equal 0, or 1x plus 11 could equal 0. So I'm going to dot and circle. Opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. Remember, if I have 0 and take 5 away, that makes a negative 5. So 1 times x equals negative 5. Then divide by 1, it's still negative 5. As you can tell, dividing really doesn't accomplish a lot here when it's a 1. Okay, so 1 times x, 0 minus 11 is negative 11, and then divide by 1. And that's negative 11 still. So those end up being the two answers in the end. Okay. Okay. Next page. GCF. Okay, because whenever we got x, two x's, okay, x second and an x a first, we're going to need to do the GCF because these x's are to different powers. This is the whole point in doing this. So GCF, you don't have a negative in front? Nope. You got x on everything? Nope. 8 doesn't have it. And 1, 6, and 8. If 1's one of the numbers I would put into the calculator on the computer, then 1. And if it's just plain old 1, a naked 1, don't do it. A, B, C. Okay, and then I make the connection. So I take positive 1 times positive 8, and that's positive 8. So positive 8 means I'm going to add, and we're going to add to 6. Now 6 is positive. So 8 divided by 1 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. I don't have 9 here. Now imagine putting a 2 there. 8 divided by 2. Okay? I need to write 2 down because I got a whole answer of 4. And 4 plus 2 is 6. Now 6 is positive, so 4 is positive. Then we have a positive product, so the signs have to be the same. Okay? So plus 2 plus 4. Now, A equals 1 again, because there's going to come a point in time where A is not going to be 1, okay? That's not a huge deal, but something we'll have to keep an eye on. So 1x, 2, and 4, and they'd both be plus. Remember, this expression equals 0, so the two factors being multiplied equals 0, which means either factor 1 or factor 2 could be 0. So 1x plus 2 could equal 0, or 1x plus 4 could equal 0. So I dot my x, circle it, dot your x, circle it. So we minus 2. Remember, 0 take away a number means I have negative, the same number. Divide by 1, that still keeps it at negative 2. Minus 4, 1 times x equals negative 4, divide by 1, and that's still negative 4. So my two answers for x, my two pieces to the puzzle, are negative 2, negative 4. Okay, now my next problem. Okay, put GCF equals, that should be there. I forgot to put that there. Okay. That's not negative in front. If it was, I'd put a negative. And if it's negative 1, you actually have to do it, okay? But we don't have the negative. And then do I have x on everything on this side? Nope, 8 doesn't. Okay, so 1, 9, and 8. I got 1. So it's 1 again, so get it out. A, B, C then with this table, because we have to find the number. We go A, B, C, and just take the A number times the C number. Okay, so I take positive 1 times positive 8, and I got positive 8. 8 positive. Now we got positive, so we're going to add. And that add is equal to 9. And 9's negative. Now, divide by, a lot of people just put 1 in the number and don't even think, but what's 8 plus 1? It's 9. Use it. So 8's negative, so 9's negative over here, so 8's got to be negative. We have a positive product, so that means the signs have to be the same. So if that's negative, that's negative. Okay, A is 1. So 1x, and then we're going to put 1 and 8, and those would both be minus. Now remember the way to check to see if you did it right. You can add negative 1 to negative 8, and that should be the negative 9 in the middle. Now you can multiply the negative 1 and the negative 8, and that should be the 8 right there. Okay, so F1, F2. So 1x minus 1 could equal 0, or 1x minus 8 could equal 0. Plus 1, 0 plus 1 is 1. Then I divide by 1. 1 divided by 1 stays 1. Plus 8, 1 times x equals 8. Then I divide by 1. And 8 divided by 1 is still 8. So 1 and 8 are the two answers. You see how I'm not getting a 0 for one of my answers. That's because not every x, if x is not on everything, then 0 can't be one of the answers. On those other problems you did earlier this quarter, x was, you had two things, and x was on both of them, so that's why 0 would be this one. Okay. GCF, 1x second minus 2x minus 63. So again, the first number is not a negative. So we don't have x on everything. And 1, 2, and 63, if when 1's one of those numbers, it's just going to be 1. A, B, C. So I connect the A to the C through multiplication. 1 times negative 63 is 63 negative. Okay, so it's negative, so we're going to do a minus operation, and the minus operation is supposed to be 2. Okay, now 2 is negative, so we put negative. Now this one's going to take a while. Okay, just tell you that. 1 and 63. 63 minus 1, 62. It's got to be 2. Now imagine Hermsen puts a 2 there. I'd take 63 divided by 2, but I got 31.5, so with that point, I don't put it. Now I'd put a 3 there. 21, so I put the 3 down, and then the answer I got 21. 21 minus 3 is 18. That's not what I have there. Okay, now imagine Hermsen puts a 4 down. I got a decimal, so I don't put 4 down. Now I'd put a 5. Got 12.6. I do not actually put 5. Now 6. I got a decimal. I don't actually put 6. Now 7. Be patient. You will find it. Got 9. So I write 7 down with the 9 that I got for an answer. Now the 2's negative, so 9 would be negative, and we have a negative 63, so with the negative product, the signs have to be the opposite. So it's negative, and that's positive. So A equals 1, okay, so I just need the 2 parentheses, and I go 1, 1, x, x, and then plus 7 minus 9. We can always check to see if we're on the right track now by adding positive 7 to negative 9, and it should be the negative 2 up there. And then positive 7 times negative 9, that should be the negative 63. Okay, so this is F1, this is F2. Okay, so 1x plus 7 equals 0, or 1x minus 9 equals 0. So you dot and circle, you dot and circle. So the opposite of plus 7 is minus 7, which would take it to negative 7 on that side. It does not stay 0 when you add or subtract from or to 0. Divide by 1, and that's negative 7. Now over here we're going to plus 9, that's the opposite of minus. And if you want to unmultiply the 1, you can divide, but you really just keeps it at 9. Okay. GCF. Again, you need to have numbers in all the places. The first number's positive, so positive stays. You have x second, x to the 1, and then nothing. So I can't put x of any kind here. Then 1, 3, and 10. 1 would be the GCF. Whenever 1's one of these numbers that go in here, it's going to be 1. So I don't do that. Okay. So I go A, B, C, and I'm going to be taking positive 1 times negative 10. That's a negative product, so it's 10 with a negative. So what would I do? Add or minus? I'm going to minus. That minus, because if I get a negative, minus to 3. 3 is positive. Okay, so set up the division. 10 divided by 1 is 10, so I write 10 down. 10 minus 1 is 9, and I don't have 9 here, I have 3. Imagine putting a 2 down. If I divide 10 by 2, it's 5, so I put a 2 down, and you get 5. And 5 minus 2 is 3. What do you know? So 3 is plus, so 5's plus, and we have a negative. So if we have a negative, the signs are opposite. These two, okay? So the opposite of plus is negative. Okay, so A is a 1, so it's just 2 parentheses. So it's 1x minus 2 plus 5. F1, F2. And remember, all I've done is taken this expression and rewritten it with the 2 parentheses. Okay, so F1, 1x minus 2 could equal 0, or F1x plus 5 could equal 0. So I dot and circle, so plus 2, 0 plus 2 is 2. So 1 times x equals 2, and then you can divide by the 1. 2 divided by 1 is still 2, though. Opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. So 1 dotted, circle it, I guess. 1 times x. 0 take away 5 is negative 5. It does not stay at 0 when you add or subtract. So now I divide by 1, and negative 5 divided by 1 is negative 5.